Hey, dreamers, in this episode, we are bringing you the amazing, incomparable Mike Brassell.
You will recognize his voice as the one that guides you through the greenhouses when you are on the Living with the Land attraction at Epcot.
Mike is also the voice you hear on The People Mover, and he composed the music for Space Mountain.
Hear Mike talk about what it's like to be the voice of a Disney attraction.
And how he became the body model for a Disney character.
He also covers his background in music composition and so much more.
So, without further ado, here's the one with Mike Brassell.
Hi, this is Mike Brassell, voice of the Tomorrowland Transit Authority People Mover. As we approach the Tomorrowland Transit Authority station, our Grand Circle tour is coming to an end, but not to a stop, because you're listening to the Living the Dream podcast with your hosts, Krista Joy from DisneyWays.com and Joe Pardo from HowToDream.co. Hold on tight, because today's journey leads to tomorrow's dream. And get ready for the Living the Dream podcast.
Living the Dream podcast is your show.
And we want to hear from you.
Email us your magical Disney memory and we will read it on the show. It can be typed or send us an audio file.
If you include a photo, we will post your magical memory on the blog as well.
Our email address is thecrew@livingthedreampodcast.com.
Heather Marin from Decade3.com sent us her magical memory, and it says this. Here is my magical memory. It was hard to pick just one. We went to Disney pretty regularly growing up, and it's a special place for my family. My dad was very excited to take my daughter there. We went with him when she was about 13 months old, and watching them at the Magic Kingdom was very cool. It is really special for me because shortly after that visit, my dad's cancer worsened and he passed away last November. We're so sorry about the loss of your dad, Heather, but thank you for sending in your magical memory. I'm glad that you have something to treasure for your dad and Disney. That's really what it's all about, making those memories. Thank you for sending that in. So everybody be sure to check out Heather at decade3.com where she blogs. So Heather at decade3.com. Thanks for sending that in, Heather. You may recognize our guest today as the voice of the Tomorrowland Transit Authority People Mover in Magic Kingdom, or as the voice you hear as you relax and enjoy your boat ride through the Living with the Land attraction at Epcot. You may be surprised to learn he has actually done a lot of additional work for Disney movies and more. Seasoned musical composer, triple Emmy Award winner Mike Brassell, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Krista. I really appreciate being here. It's an honor.
Oh, it's an honor to have you, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Joe. Honestly, I appreciate this. Is awesome.
Mike, why don't you tell us about winning your Emmys and what they mean to you and what it felt like?
Wow. First of all, again, you're going to hear me say this a lot. Honestly, I just so happy to be able to be at this particular point in my life, and uh, what an awesome award. It really is. It's sort of it's just a nice testimony to of all the hard work that people put into what it is they're doing, and it was just rather surreal to receive it. To be honest with you, the first one came a couple years ago with our team producing videos, and they decided to submit. And I didn't know what was going to happen, and I think a couple of them had won some before. And it was just so nice when we heard that we were nominated. I was like, "What? This is crazy!" It is awesome to have that happen. And then we decided to go, of course, go to the ceremony, which was absolutely awesome. They put on a big spread there. You're sitting there at the table, and you're sitting with other Emmy noms and guests there. It's just so cool to look around and see all the good work that people have done, and you see names roll across the screen, and all of a sudden one of them's yours. And you're like, "What?" It's amazing. And you get up and you accept it. You go, "I'm not even ready to I don't have a list to say thank you." Yeah, I should have become more prepared, but it was absolutely awesome to receive that. Thanks to the team for allowing me to be a part of that Emmy win as well. It was nice to have that happen, and then we got another one in another category as well. It was just tremendous to have that happen. The third one was for another video that I had done, and this time it was something that I had voiced to be on the team there. It was fantastic. they were talking about the Wounded Warriors and how they had been going up to Mount Rainier and they had scaled that. And it was a team out there who had done that with the soldiers who were wounded. And it was a tremendous story. So it was very, very nice to be a part of that. And of course, to bring honor to them and their service as well. So it was spectacular to be nominated and win for something like that. I loved it.
So, Mike, just for anyone who doesn't know, what were your other two Emmys for?
Okay, the first one I said was for Wounded Warriors, and that was for the Sovereign Media Group. The second one was for RTI, for Warrant Officer Candidate School. It was a video just sort of describing what happens and what soldiers can expect going into um, their Warrant Officer Candidate School. But when they do that, they're not going to a particular site. They can do most of their work from home, and we just had to explain to them what was going on with that. That was the second one. The third one was of National Guard careers, and it was a commercial spot produced by Perry Jenkins, who's just absolutely amazing, wonderfully creative, visionary, and he was the director on that project. And I had a chance to edit it as well and be the music soup on it and sound design guy. It was just so fun with the rest of the team to be able to produce a spot like this that the industry said, "Hey, you know what? This is good. Actually, this is great." So I was very, very pleased to be a part of that.
So, is there a reason you've done so much with a military background as far as like, is there a connection there for you?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm glad you asked that. The reason that has come about is because in 2009, just working with the relationships that I had built up previously with prior jobs and clients and gigs, I was called up by Perry Jenkins, the director of the commercial spot we won the Emmy for, and he was asking me if I could produce music for the National Guard's national advertising campaign. Pardon me. They were doing that in 2010, and they wanted original music for their video, and they asked me to compose it, and I said yes. I always say yes, by the way, even if you can't do it, say yes, and then go scramble to find out how you can do it. And that's just a recommendation for me. You should really say yes if you know how to do it, of course. But I said yes, and we went through the process and scored it, and it came out as a National Guard advertising spot. I think it was shown in front of Avatar. And when I say Avatar, I mean it was shown like as you get in the theater, you see running ads. It was part of that campaign. But something I'm very proud of. My father served in the Army, so it was kind of nice to honor him in that way as well.
It's amazing. It's just incredible the career that you've had so far, and you're just getting started. But also, we know you've done a lot of work for Disney too, and we can get into more of that in a few minutes. But how did you get started with the Disney company?
First of all, the Disney company is absolutely tremendous. I didn't realize that beforehand, not working with them, outside of the fact that their movies, of course, and their products that they created was just spectacular. Of course, you just know that. You go to a Disney movie like I did when I was younger, and you're just absolutely impressed. You're inspired. You love everything you see and hear about it. And boy, to work with them is just as awesome. And I mean that. I mean, they really do appreciate from my division, and I'm sure all of them, they appreciate their employees. They show that quite a bit. They do demand good work from their people, of course. But to answer your question, I got started with Disney because we were coming off of a film, an animated film, by the way, Cats Don't Dance, done by Turner at the time, Turner Feature Animation. Right before the end of the film, we ended up merging with Warner Brothers to finish that film, Warner Brothers Feature Animation. We managed to become at that point. And then we were off of the film once it was done and going to be released. And I just had a good friend, Dan Molina, his name was, as a matter of fact, and we met, his family and I did, at Lamaze class as my wife was pregnant with our second child, believe it or not, and just great people. Had a great conversation with them and talked to them about what we do, and he just managed to tell me about an opening. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I apologize. That was how I got into Cats Don't Dance. How I got into Disney was I had met another producer. His name is David Steinberg. Good man, and we had talked about the job there at Fantasia. It was North Side, as a matter of fact, and that was my first movie I came in on. And I interviewed, and they hired me, and I started off as a PA, and did what I was supposed to do, and it rose to the ranks. It was fun.
You did raise through the ranks. There's so much that you've done. It's just unbelievable. So we're excited to be talking to you about that too. Now, if you let's say, you and I, we've talked about, our love of 9-pound lemons and all that stuff. Mickey shaped pumpkins and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Who doesn't love that?
yeah, right.
um,
Oh.
what is that like to be on Living with the Land and hear your own voice coming out at you? Now, me personally, when I'm on the ride now, like I always think about you. I always send you a Facebook or a text these days. I'm like, Mike, I'm on your ride. I'm listening to your voice. I miss you. Come to Orlando. But how does it feel for you personally?
Well, thank you for the support, Chris. I always appreciate that. That's fun to receive those texts like that. It's like, oh yeah, I did that. It's cool. Somebody heard that. It's very very cool. It's surreal to be honest with you. The first time that happened was like, what in the world? Honestly, my reaction is just one of awe. It's tremendous to be able to hear that in action because it's not something you expect. You do it and you go, yeah, all right, that's cool, and it's fun to have that kind of in your back pocket. But when you start to experience it, and they're like, all right, here you go ahead and get in the ride, and you get in a boat, and the first thing that you hear is yourself, and you're like, this is amazing, this is awesome, what? It is the coolest thing in the world, but it's surreal. Like I cannot believe it. What a wonderful thing to have happen. So I'm very pleased about that. It's surreal, but cool.
Yeah, I mean it is, right? Because it's just recorded audio. I mean, it's no different than what we're recording right now in this conversation, but it's
That's it.
on a ride that's validation for everything that you've done.
That's a great way to look at it. It's cool to kind of just stop what you're doing during the middle of the day. This has happened to me a couple times and just go, wow, people are listening to my voice on Living with the Land. What a cool thing. I'm just so happy about that. I
Yeah,
really,
like 12 hours a day at least every single day, which is just it's just mind-blowing when you think about it. And I know you're also the voice of the People Mover, and you have a special story about Space Mountain too. So tell everybody about that.
yeah, that was hey, look, big ups to Disney, honestly. I just the way that I had just coming from a small town in Ohio, the way that you figure Disney gets their talent, and I'm sure it's this way quite a bit, is they love to pick the best guys, the stars that are out there, getting bigger and bigger every day. They want their voices in the movies for relevance, for the audience participation and cooperation and all that good stuff. They love that connection. I think that's fantastic. So I was absolutely bowled over when I was asked, "Hey, do you?" We were talking about the Tomorrowland Transit Authority voiceover, and I was like, "Wow, I'd love to do that." And they said, "Okay, good. We'd love for you to do that." And it was a wonderful thing to do. It really was. It means a lot to a lot of people, and that's what makes me very very happy. So as we were walking into the load in and just really listening to it, this was after the park was closed, listening to the voice as it triggers from one point or to another point as it's supposed to during the attraction run. We get off and we're walking past Space Mountain, and I hear this, and this is just unexpected. I hear, "Do you write music as well?" from my producer. And of course, I'm going to say yes. And I did. Oh, yes. Yes, I do, as a matter of fact. Why? Sorry. Um, he says, "Well, we might have something for you." And I'm like, "Okay, that's cool." So he didn't tell me right then and there what it was. I go back home, of course, writing music in the studio every day, as I did when I was in Orlando. And I get an email, and in it is some verbiage about an attraction music. And I opened it up, and I just jumped up, screaming, ran out of the studio, just acting like a nut. I mean, my wife's like, "What's going on?" I said, honey, they asked me to score Space Mountain in Florida." "What?" "Yes, they did. Are you kidding me?" "Me? What? I'll do it. Yeah." So I did. So we're gonna fast forward the story. So I write the piece. There's some revisions. We do it, and they finally accept the last thing. We get in there, and it's I don't even know how to express this. We're writing, and it gets approved in Space Mountain. And the executives come out and they say, "Okay, yes, we like it. We're going to buy off on this." And I'm just blown away. and I go to the Tomorrowland Transit Authority, and we start riding that, and you can hear the music as the attraction is being narrated uh, by me going through Space Mountain with the music being written by me is just an astounding. I don't even know what to say. It was unbelievable. I called my mom. I had to. That was one of those where I'm an older guy now, married with kids, right? But I had to call my mom and go, "Mom." I felt like a 12-year-old. Mom, you know what I did? See, I'm riding with no hands on my bicycle. No, it was a lot more than that. Mom, I narrated a an attraction at Disney that runs through another attraction that I wrote the music for. I don't even know how to express that. She's like, "Oh, hey, congratulations, Michael."
Oh.
That's great. Typical mom response. Like, "Yeah, that's great. Good job." I'm like, "Wow, this is spectacular." So I'm going to rejoice in that that piece of awesomeness. I think it's just awesome. So I'm happy about that.
Does she understand what you do?
Yes, she does. Yeah, yes. Yes, it's hard to explain sometimes, but yes, she gets it. She's just being a mom.
So, Mike, I gotta ask though, if there was any other attractions that you could redo the music or redo the voice for, with your voice and or your music or both, what attraction would that be?
Oh man, that's a good question.
I mean, no disrespect to the original people who did whatever music you'd be replacing, but or voice for that matter.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I don't know, but you know what I do love? I love Rock and Roller Coaster. I
That's a
love
good
that, but
Okay,
choice.
it
yeah.
is. But that's taken by Aerosmith. They've got that on lock. It's all good. But if I could, I'd love to do something like that. That'd be great.
Yeah, let's get in the stretch limo and go to a Mike Brassell concert. That's
That's
what
what
I'm
I'm
saying.
talking about right there. Woo-hoo.
No, I love that story about the how you're on the People Mover listening to Mike Brassell talk, and then you cruise through Space Mountain and hear the music that he's composed. I tell everybody about that. That's my little Mike Brassell trivia that I tell everybody, and they're like, "Really? That's so cool!" I'm like, "Can you imagine?" He's like the only person in the whole world that could say, he has anything like this. So it's a very big deal. I'm glad your mom, patted you on the back for it a little bit.
She did, and she did. Props to my mom, but that was cool, and honestly, I want everyone to understand it. True, I truly feel like that is a gigantic honor. I don't take that lightly. I really don't. I'm blown away. It's hard to think about all the time. It really is, and go, wow, I really can't believe that I'm the Michael on the East Coast that gets to write music for Space Mountain, and there's a Michael on the West Coast who has done it there. That is
Unbelievable.
just the coolest thing in the world. I love it.
So, Mike, I love music. Obviously, with the wall of records behind me and everything. And
Yeah,
and you clearly love music.
love it.
What Tell me what you love most about composing music.
Well, thank you for that question. I appreciate that, Joe. What I love is the release of anything. It could be how you're feeling, how someone else is feeling. And you just try to translate that into musical notes, something that somebody else will listen to and go, man, I connect completely with that. And to that end, it's very transcendental. It has no language because it's all language kind of wrapped up in no language at all. That's not really deep, but but you understand what I'm saying. Anyone who listens to music can understand that. It's such a mood shaper. It's the best thing in the world to console, to inspire. Uh, it's it has a lot of power, and I just appreciate being able to be a creator of something like that. That's just wonderful. I hope that answered your question.
I mean, it did. There's a quote from, and I'm sure you've listened to it, DJ Shadow's first album, where he says, and of course the name of the album is eluding me, and I feel horrible for that. But the point of it was there was a quote in it where he's talking about himself and creating this album, which obviously is a monumental album, and I am totally missing out on the name. Oh, introducing, of course.
Ah,
So,
yes.
so where he says, it's not me doing the music is coming through me, and I
Yes.
and I feel like that was like a deeper way of saying what you just said.
Yeah, yeah, it was much deeper. Yeah, much deeper. Yes, it's a it's a wonderful thing to honestly to be able to create music just to listen to what you can do, and then when you play it for people, how they're affected by it. You know, as long as it's good, and even if it's not good, you can get a response on how to make it better. Again, for the connection that everybody loves. I love that you can you find yourself putting your foot down on the pedal when you've got a very fast song playing in the car. How many people have done that? Like, okay, wait, I got to turn this down or turn it to a different channel because I'm actually being affected by this music. I love it that it can draw out so much from us daily, constantly. We never get tired of it. There's 12 notes that people have used over and over and will continue to use to make such beautiful creations. I think it's wonderful.
Speaking to that, there was a video not too long ago about music and like, will we ever run out of music? Right? Will every song that could be played be played? And the answer was a technical yes, but it doesn't really matter because, as you said, there's only so many notes that really people want to hear.
Absolutely. No, you're right. And I agree with that. And songs have been written over and over again, and they will continue to be written over again. That's okay because the listener will change. We go through generations of people and generations of different styles of music, and it will never be stale. Because we have changed, the listener will change, the circumstances will change, society will change, and it will impact how we listen to music.
Mike, do you have any CDs available for purchase out there in the world that people can get?
I do not as of this moment.
Not yet.
But coming soon. Dot dot dot. I'm just gonna put an ellipses there.
Yay! Okay. And outside of Space Mountain, is there other music that you composed for Disney that people would recognize?
Outside of Space Mountain, no, no. However, I do write for other theme parks as well. Psst, don't tell Disney. And I enjoy doing that as well. It's fun stuff. Just to be able to write a theme, an orchestral score for a dark ride, and get the audience, get them prepared when they're in the ready room right before they board the attraction. It's so much fun. I love doing that.
So, could you tell us about some of the feature animation work that you've done?
Oh, absolutely. I'm proud of that heritage, as a matter of fact. It was absolutely unexpected. I started on Fantasia, which went through a couple of name iterations, Fantasia 2000, Fantasia Begins, I believe, and I just had a great time on that film. As I said before, my position was a PA, so I did whatever it is they asked me to do and just built up some great relationships with the most fantastic artists that the world has seen there. Really, those guys are awesome, and they're as awesome of an artist as they are as an individual. Really, there's some really creative people there, and I enjoyed my time on Fantasia. And that went right into we were in the North Side building there in Burbank, and we were working on multiple projects as is often done. And I ended up working on a little bit of Atlantis. What else did we touch? We touched Human Again. That was fun, putting that song in back in from Alan Menken in Beauty and the Beast. What was awesome about that was we got a chance to see some of the original Beast artwork, and that came from the Animation Research Library. That was tremendous to be able to touch that film, quite literally, actually, as the artist needed to use it for reference to build the song Beauty, Human Again, which was absolutely awesome. Then I went on to, let's see, Kingdom of the Sun. It was at the time. Kingdom of the Sun. I can't remember which one. Went on to that one, and then Tarzan. That wow, I trained on my next job with Tarzan, which was absolutely awesome. I didn't get a credit for the film because I was training for it, so they didn't really consider me a cast member at the time. I don't know how that worked out, but that's how I got trained to go into my next film, and they moved us at that point, my family and I, to Florida, where we worked at the animation studio in there, and my first job for that studio was Lilo and Stitch, which was a fun movie. And we did a couple of interstitial projects in between, John Henry being one. I don't know if you guys remember Disney Legends, that DVD. We worked on John Henry there, which is wonderful. And then the last film I worked on for Disney was Brother Bear, and that was it. Love that film.
Yeah, and then you have a really cool story about how you got chosen unknowingly to be a body model for Dr. Sweet.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, these guys are look. These artists are fantastic. They really are. They're friendly. They're fun, and they're absolutely talented. And so, just walking down the hall one day, an animator said, "Hey, Mike, come here." And so I go in, see what the animator wants, and he asks me to sit down. And so I take a seat in his room, and he hands me a bowl, a rice bowl, if you will, like with sort of Asian text and graphic design on the outside. So he poses me. He says, "Hold this bowl." And I had chopsticks in the other hand. He just kind of posed me. I sit there for a minute, turned it to a little while. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Don't worry." He goes, and he moves me to a different position and moves my head, and I have to stay there for a minute. So I'm posing for this. This is cool. I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on. He goes, "Thank you." So I put everything down and go away. I don't I don't think about things like that. Of course, as I'm going back to do my job, next day comes, next day goes, weeks go by. All of a sudden, I hear, "Hey, Mike, come here," and I go back in. It's Ron Husband. He's the animator of which I speak, and he shows me these model sheets which show you the different angles of a character in an animated movie. And he said, "Look, I used you as the model for Dr. Sweet," and it got approved. I was like, "What? Are you kidding me?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah." I was like, "Wow, that's what you had me in your room for." He goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Man, I was wondering what that was all. That's awesome. They said yes." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I broke a couple of pencils on it, but no, no, I'm kidding." But that is what happened. True story. Uh, so that was cool.
I
Just to
love
kind
it.
of be exposed to that kind of artistry was awesome.
Yes. And also you got to be in the building while Roy E. Disney was walking around and stuff, right?
Yeah, what a mind blower that was. I mean, they you hear about the Disney legacy, you read about it, and all the stuff that Walt had to go through to make his dream come true. Truly inspiring for anyone who reads a story like that. And then all of a sudden comes in his nephew, and he looks like Walt. And you're like, whoa! It takes your breath away. Wow. Wow, and he's a nice guy. Well, he was a nice guy. Walked around, made sure you called him by his first name. You're like, "No, I can't call you Roy. My mom will come out from Ohio and smack me. I have to call you Mr. Disney." "No, no, you call me Roy." "Yes, sir, Roy." And lightning didn't strike me. It was the coolest thing in the world to be able to see that man and understand the legacy that was just right there before you was absolutely amazing. Working on a film, Fantasia, that he was personally responsible for. Wow. I just find myself in some of the most awesome places, honestly. And I don't know how or why I get there, but it's the coolest thing in the world.
I love it. Now, and also, did you want to talk about Dream On Silly Dreamer a little bit?
Yes, thank you. Yes, absolutely. Now, I always tell everybody what it is I do. If I'm working at a different job, doing whatever it is I do, I tell people that I'm a composer. I think it's good to be able to share that with folks just in case there's an opportunity that comes your way, just for your career advancement, for fun, for whatever it is you can do to help. So I put that out there all the time. So an animator who was working on a film at the time, I didn't know it was Dream on Silly Dreamer at the time. He asked me if I would compose for his film. I absolutely said yes. It turned out to be Dream on Silly Dreamer, which really is the story about the rise and fall of Disney feature animation in the 2D world, pencil and paper, really. As you know, Ice Age, I believe it was, from Sony, came out and really turned audiences' head away from 2D animation and ticket sales, really, to 3D. So it turned it from 2D to 3D at that point, if I have my facts correct. And so, with all the absolute success Disney had with Lion King and before, that was just the pinnacle of it. This story, Dream on Silly Dreamer, really sort of documents what happened to the Disney artists during that period of time, where they went through absolute awesome growth and success, as I said before, to sort of a devastating drop when they started closing the studios that they had for 2D animation and started dropping those projects. So it's a bittersweet story to tell, and Roy himself is involved with that also. So it's really nice to continue to be a part of that legacy.
Mike, I got a question. I got to ask about if somebody was coming up as a composer, as you have mentioned, your son is actually a composer as well of trap music, if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
so I gotta ask, like, what would you tell somebody coming up in such a difficult field that it almost seems like you have to just be in the right place at the right time and say yes? And I love the power of yes, right? So many people are like, you have to be able to say no, and I'm like, why, right?
Yeah.
That turns people off. That turns people to not want to ask you. It turns away things, that opportunities, people, windows of opportunity, and doors that you could walk through.
Yeah.
What is it that you could give to somebody who's working on that path?
Joe, I'm so glad you asked that question. Woo! Because I'm about to tell you a secret, okay? I'm going to tell you a secret. It's not really a secret. As soon as you hear it, you're going to go, "Oh yeah." But why is it a secret? Because people don't use it enough. They don't say it enough. And here it is. You asked me if I had any advice for an up and coming composer. I do. Here it is. The industry wants you. The industry wants you. Man, that's something your parents will hardly say. That's something your friends will hardly say. That's something people in the industry will hardly say. Why do I say that, and where am I coming from? I'll tell you very, very clearly. I love encouragement. I think it's very good. We see it all around us. We see success. We see excellence around us. We see people in positions we want to be in. So that means there's a position there. Somebody else is filling it. That means there's also a spot for you. So I want to go back to what I said. Your industry wants you. They want you. So if you're going to be a composer, be a composer because they want you. Why? They want someone who's successful. They want someone who is driven, someone who is great, who loves excellence, who's great in relationships and understands the job. Can you do that? If you say a big resounding yes, then go for it. You have to go for it. Do it because your industry wants you. There are people out there composing, aren't there? Yes, there are, we say, all together. That means you can do it as well. I didn't guarantee, and I can't. I won't because I simply can't do that. But please try. That's what I'll say.
That was beautiful. Yeah, I think I just said that's a similar type thing to somebody the other day. That I was like, we should create this thing, and they said, well, I don't know, blah blah blah, and I was like, you know why? Nobody's been able to do it. I was like, because we haven't done it yet. That's why.
That's why. You got it right, Joe. Yeah.
Mike, I would love for you to share how people can connect with you online and find more of your work. I mean, I know you don't have any CDs, but do you have anywhere people can at least get your music outside of buying a ticket to Disney World or watching one of the movies that you've or Universal that you've worked in?
Yes, you can reach me online at ineedmoremusic.com. That is my music library. And you can check out cuts from my son there. He's got some trap cuts there. I do as well. We worked a little bit in collaboration, but I'm just slowly building that library for licensing to film and TV, YouTube, and anyone else who would have it for any of their productions.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. I know Krista does as well.
Yes,
Are you
thank you,
kidding?
Mike.
This is awesome. Oh, Krista, absolutely. You're absolutely welcome.
Mike, just as we say every time as we close this show, this journey is yours. Enjoy each and every step.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Living the Dream podcast. We know there's a lot of great shows out there that you could be listening to, and we appreciate you taking the time to tune into ours. Remember to check us out online at livingthedreampodcast.com.
The greatest compliment you could give us is going to Stitcher Radio or iTunes and leaving us a rating and review. It helps us get the message out there to other dreamers.
It sure does. And until next time, I'm Krista Joy.
And I'm Joe Pardo. And remember, today's journey leads to tomorrow's dream.
If you can dream it, Mad Hatter Adventures can help make it happen. Mad Hatter Adventures specializes in everything from family trips, corporate travel, and last-minute getaways. Let Mad Hatter Adventures take the stress out of planning your trip and help save you money. There's no charge for their services, and they specialize in Disney vacations. Visit madhatteradv.com or give them a call at 1-844-M-HATTER today to find out more. Make all your travel dreams come true by calling 1-844-M-HATTER.